remove the armrests to get out of their way. This one has armrests that can do two different things. They can be removed, in terms of literally removed, maybe, okay, which is important for getting clearance if someone can't really nicely stand up tall and they need to move over, so it doesn't, the armrest doesn't get in the way. Also for the slide board transfer. Or, the other thing that this does, this particular one, which is a nice feature for someone who is more independent in operating their device. Maybe. All these different moving parts also make it more complicated. There we go. Is so then you don't have to go through. So it doesn't get lost. You know, people take them off, put them on the floor, stick them on the bed, so this is nice for someone who wants to just get this out of their own way. Okay. The brakes, the main safety feature. They can operate, this one can't operate in both directions, but there's reasons for having brakes that are either push to go on or pull to go on. Okay. I've used the ones where it's pull to activate them, to get them out of the way of the leg rests when they swing away. Because sometimes, especially if I have an extension on this, for someone who has decreased upper extremity power, that extension gives more leverage. Remember all your stuff about levers and all that? So, because they could get in the way when I go to push my leg rests out of the way, the mechanisms will hit and not really get out of the way. So in the past, when I've worked with folks, particularly with stroke, this mechanism would be reversed in a way so that when I pulled it back, it locked, and then it was completely out of the way of the leg rest mechanism. It's just a nice feature. So the brakes, it's so important that they are on whenever that person is moving into or out of the wheelchair. Very important. Big safety thing. Huh?
Kick podium.
Kick podium. Kick podium. These are called leg rests.
Dr. Pam, I am having a heart attack because I keep thinking your gait belt's gonna wrap around.
Nope, because nothing's moving.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
This is the way I used to always wear my gait belt. These are called elevating leg rests because they elevate. Okay. The others that you may see in a basic wheelchair model are called footrests. They literally, they just put their feet on them, they don't elevate, etc. They're one size, that's it. Someone who may need to elevate their legs for, say maybe some edema control, etc., may use an elevating leg rest. There's even more sophisticated ones. When you think about these, the length of the leg rest does not change when it elevates. Which can be a problem for some people because, okay, I'm nice and comfortable like this when I'm sitting, but I go to elevate, and I'm literally getting up like this instead of like this. So there are now what are called articulated elevating leg rests, where there's another articulation in here so that as this comes up, there's a bottom piece here, telescopes out. Okay. They're also heavier, and they're more of a pain to deal with getting on and off. But these do for basic. These wheelchairs, this basic wheelchair design of this sling seat, sling back, was never meant to be something someone sat in for an entire day. It was designed to get someone from point A to point B, not to sit in all day. The sling seat and sling back is also to allow them to fold for storage, not for appropriate anatomical support.
So is it just like a budgetary thing that why we see that all the time? Like I feel like this is the standard wheelchair that you see people in all day long. And you would think that maybe a doctor would say something or it would be.
One might think. This is where it came in years and years ago when I used to take an entire wheelchair fleet in a nursing home in Greenwich, Connecticut, and retrofitted them with special, for someone who was going to be in it, but who couldn't afford or didn't qualify for a customized wheelchair with seating system. There's things out there now that you can buy to replace the backs. I take all these off and put the high back on, or it had like a semi-recline, and I have special cushions to fill in this sling, and yeah, used to make some nice custom chairs for about $300 compared to $5,000 for a custom chair for someone who couldn't qualify for a true custom under the Connecticut Custom Wheelchair Program. So it's all, number one, like anything, as you know, is safety. So it's really important that these don't move when the brakes are on. When they do start to move, okay, it can be that the wheels are worn down more smooth, just like your tires, okay? So that these little metal pieces don't grip or bite into them anymore. Or just the adjustment to the distance of the brake itself, it will adjust forward and back on the frame, and you can do that.
How long are the brakes supposed to last?
I don't know.
Just
Going from sit to stand, want to make sure that the brakes are locked. Number one safety skill, brakes locked. People will always, if they're pretty good, and they're just really using the wheelchair more for fatigue, endurance, that kind of a thing, they may forget, and they're going, okay, I'm just gonna get this out of the way, I'm gonna get up and go. For us, when we're with them, we want to make sure we get these things out of the way. These latches, each one's a bit different. You have to understand your particular component. These takes a little while to figure out. I have to push them from inside or pull them out to release them, and then lift them off. Standard type wheelchairs, these connectors, this is pretty typical. You have two holes that line up with two pins on the frame here. These things, if they get bent, like this gets bent this way or down, will not fit on those pins properly and will not allow the locking mechanism to lock properly. That's why I usually have a nice rubber mallet and a nice surface. Yes, I used to be able to tear down chairs and put them back together. These two pins, this is the tricky part. This is where most people have difficulty putting these back on. knowing exactly how to line them up. There we go. You wanna make sure. And when you're taking these on and off, you don't take them on and off in this position. Okay? You really have to swing them out a little bit so that the latch mechanism clears and you can come up. You don't start over here either. I'd say at about a 45-degree angle, roughly. Okay. Very important. Get those out of the way. Right. See how they kind of get stuck on the lovely little brake handle. If you have this could be a potential safety issue with these things still sticking out here. Very, very important. And then, if you're just helping someone or standing by them when they go to stand, what do I do? What do I tell them to do? Scoot to the front. So some people will scoot. You know why this is moving? Because it's really the front casters and it's sliding on the floor. It's not because the big wheels aren't locked. So scoot. The classic one I get, when someone has difficulty maintaining upright trunk. That.
That's kind of
That
bad.
tells you something about them, right? So then the idea is then what? Okay, I've scooted front.
Put your hands back on the seat or on the arm and put your nose over your toes.
Okay, which do I do first?
I want your arms someplace so you don't tumble someplace.
Okay, so what do I do?
Put your hands back on the armrest and open like this with your elbows bent.
There we go.
And now you can bend your nose over your toes and look at your boots.
Nose or my toes, look at my feet. How also should my feet be positioned? I just did it automatically, but. Yep, back a little bit. So there's a little bit of flexion in that knee angle and about shoulder width apart. Good base of support. Like this, you may as well have them stand on one leg. Okay. And yes, leaning forward. Why?
Center of gravity.
Changes my center of gravity. Starts to get this lead butt of mine off the seat. And puts the weight onto the legs. And it kind of starts to give that proprioceptive cue that I'm going to be coming up on these legs. Now, someone who has no, say, weakness in the lower extremities shouldn't need to push too much from here. Okay? The reality is when it comes to the upper body and triceps in pushing, you're lucky if you get about 30% power to the lift. But it doesn't hurt to help. Yes, lean forward, start to feel the bottom coming off the seat. Feel those feet on the ground, starting to put that pressure and push up. Now when they go to sit back down, what do I do?
Reach back, go back to your back, your knees don't touch the seat.
Thank you. Regardless of where they're going to sit. To make sure that they know and it's absolutely certain that their sitting surface is behind them. Making sure that they are backed up, that they can touch the seat. Okay. And then I'm going to reach back, also to stabilize. And what?
You still want your nose over your toes because you want to put your butt
Well,
backwards.
my nose are over my toes.
Oh, then stick your butt backwards.
I want to start sitting where I'm bending the knees and my bottom is sticking out. And aiming. So important. And controlled. And I'll say to some folks, okay, sit like a lady. Sit like a gentleman. Don't flop. Because people will. Risk tipping right back over.
What if they don't have that, like, core strength?
Then I'm gonna be touching them. I'm gonna be assisting them to help guide them so that they're the safest, yeah. But then that's something that overall needs to be worked on between yourself and PT.
Is there an issue, like, when you were talking about precautions for like shoulder, like, is there an issue when you put your arms back?
Oh yeah, I'm not even going with shoulder, this is just basic right
Oh,
now.
okay.
Yep.
So that would be something like different?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm just presuming the person is generally deconditioned. Otherwise, range of motion, no surgical precautions, no sternal precautions, et cetera. Because really, the safest is when somebody's core and legs are strong enough that I can just come up. Okay.
Or if they were strong enough, would they be in the wheelchair necessarily?
It may be an endurance factor. Yeah. Maybe they don't use it in their room, but they may need it for longer distances. Yeah. Whether it's a respiratory condition or MS or something along those lines, where they start to lose their capacity to be safe after a period of time. And then there's folks who are just lazy, and then there's staff who are just lazy. Because it's faster to get them from point A to point B in a wheelchair than let them walk. If these front casters are in the way, you may need to make sure that those casters are out of the way. So that's just the basics in terms of the wheelchair safety, sit to stand, etc., without anything. Now, when I take something like this. What's this thing called? Ah, there we go. Rolling walker or front-wheeled walker?
Front wheel.
I gave her the answer.
She did.
But I mean, you'll hear it used both, rolling walker versus front-wheeled walker, versus a rollator, which is a whole different animal. We don't have one of those. That's that rolling thing with a seat that has 4 wheels, and that's not meant for stability. That's meant for just a little light stability and, okay, I'm tired, put on the brakes, sit down and rest.
It's also to carry all your stuff.
Yes. Right. Because honestly, with walker bags and walker trays, it imbalances a regular type of walker. If I have one of these and I don't have any wheels on it, it's called a standard walker. And that's the one that can get very exhausting. But it's also the most stabilizing when someone's having to move through.
Is that
Because
the one that they put the tennis balls into?
this one, they'll put them on the back because these are rubber. Or they put the skis on the back instead.
Seems like we lost the ski.
Yeah, we lost a ski, so it's kind of imbalancing, I think. So, yeah. So, with this, if I'm gonna go to get up, I still want the person to scooch forward. Okay. But they're still gonna stand up the regular way. The tendency, though, is to grab this. It's in front of me. Don't I pull on this? Don't I reach for this? It's just something, it's in my visual field and I'm gonna deal with it. Okay. But that's where teaching them, it's still about, and there's different ways. You can, depending on if they have certain weaknesses, certain preferences to get up, they could put one foot in front of the other. What does that do, actually? I'm not talking about hip precautions. When you've got someone, their feet are shoulder width apart, but one foot is slightly ahead of the other. Paul?
It's when they have like non-weight bearing, the foot that's back is usually not one.
That's a good thing, but not quite what I'm aiming for.
The flexion, the angle of the hip.
Nope.
Kind of gives them more stability over the back.
Yes, yes. It actually is more stable because now you're not dealing with your base of support being in a line. It's more like a box.
That's cool.
Hint, 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 hint. Okay. So still, coming up and then reaching for this.
Dr. Kaiser, you tell them one hand at a time.
Nope.
Just they do whatever they want.
It depends on their capability. And when I come up, they can do one hand at a time. Again, it depends on their capacity, how hard they're gonna push, because if I'm coming up, I do this and I push. I love when I get those reactions. Because it happens. If someone's really off balance, okay, and they start to lose their balance, it's going with them.
And even like cognitively sometimes, like you
Yeah.
can tell somebody one at a time, if they extend one arm, they might pull, you know what I mean, or
Yeah.
use it as like a stabilizer, so.
And that happens. I mean, even with this, you know, think about it, this is still gonna, this is not anchored anywhere. So
So
they
you
go
should
to.
never be doing it one hand on there. Like, there's no instance that you should really ever be doing one hand on the walker.
Not always.
No, because I'm just thinking, like,
Yeah.
what I know.
Right. There are times that.
You were going
Yeah.
like, now what I think.
It depends on, sometimes the design of the walker lets you do certain things. There are some walkers that are designed for you to push on them. What they are is they're cut out here because it's down low, as like a stepping up. I've done this, if I had a person who really, really couldn't do this without the safety their brain safety feature of reaching, okay? They're here and in the middle, because it's not going either direction. Okay? Not the typical way of doing things, all right? There are walkers designed for individuals who can only grasp with one hand, but they need the stability of this, where there's a handle in the middle. Okay. So, again, so they come up, put the hands on. The reason for the front wheels is it lets them push it, and you get a more smooth gait pattern than lift, step, step, lift, step, step. I always know I have a client who is not cognitively capable of dealing with the motor plan of a walker. I always love it when the PTs gave my mother a walker and I said, you don't do that, she's Alan's cognitive 3. Never used a walker in her life, but they insisted.
Oh my God.
Even more fun?
Oh my God.
Seriously, I have seen this. Okay.
Hip level.
Your anterior
That's one
iliac spine.
possibility, unless you got someone with really short arms or long arms. That's one, that's a good marker, styloid height.
The styloid.
It for a crutch. This, you want a little bit of angle at the elbow. Yes, so this is too tall for me, but it won't go any shorter. This is a taller version. I kinda want it, my trochanters. My styloids are a little lower than my trochanters, but that's okay. Same for a cane. I have 3 lovely canes here. Any idea what this thing's called?
A tripod.
Single point.
If I take this thing off of here, it's a single point cane. With this thing on here,
Tri-point.
with this thing, it's called an able cane.
And what?
Able?
Able cane. Able cane. There is such a thing as a tripod cane, but the bottom of it literally comes out
Tripods.
3 points.
3 points.
All right, we're gonna write
I can make
3
you Google
points.
that.
This is now pretty standard. This offset handle is more ergonomic than the old-fashioned round thing. It also puts, if you look at it, pressure's going through the entire length of this, as opposed to, okay, my hand's back here. Ergonomics. This thing,
Quad.
specifically,
Quad point.
small-based quad cane.
Quad
Hey, maybe that's a new trade name for a line of quad cane. It's a quad pod. Small base. When this is on all 4 feet, it's more stable than this. Some people, though, have a great deal of difficulty getting all 4 on the ground at the same time. And you'll see them, it's like, we'll just give them a straight cane.
And is that just for if they need more support on the
Yeah,
right
a little more
side?
stability,
Or whatever
right,
side
to
of
be
it?
able to put pressure through more stability.
Some people like kick their feet into it, get tangled up.
Yeah, so that's really not the best device for them. Especially if, as were pointed out in one of the demonstrations, it was on the wrong side. So this thing that sticks in, oh, there it was over in here. This should be on the side in which it's intended to be used. So, with a cane, which side do you have them use it on?
The opposite side of the affected leg.
Correct, correct. It is not meant to be a long leg splint like you see. Yes, thank you. Okay, it's not meant for that. It's not meant to be an external splint for the leg. It's meant to counterbalance that, so it helps take the pressure off between the strong leg, etc., to come through. It also helps with the normal arm swing gait pattern. Arm and foot come forward,
No.
okay, as opposed to, that's how we balance.
So if somebody had, needed to use a cane because, let's say, like you're using the right side, their left side is affected, then they sustained an injury to their right arm.
Then they're not gonna be using a
They
cane.
have to sit in a wheelchair, right?
Mm-hmm.
Been there.
Yeah, one of our testing scenarios for the skills lab part of the final exam, which is not gonna be on the final exam as an overall skills lab, was the lucky pair that drew the client that was like partial weight bearing on the right leg and non-weight bearing on the left arm.
Oh my God.
Guess what transfer you use? Not necessarily. Sliding board, number 1. Or if they have a really strong leg, they could do a single transfer for it. But that wasn't, it was like a modest pivot transfer without a device. But the person had to be really, otherwise strong. But, yeah. 'Cause yes, I've had those people. Winter Falls, broken hip, fractured wrist, opposite sides.
And they go right into the wheelchair.
Well, if nursing has their way. They do, for going long distances, but for transfers, yeah. Because there's really no other way for them to get around. So, small base quad king, I'm gonna tell you, my personal preference is I'd rather have somebody on a small based quad king than this monster. This, to me, is more unstable. It's much harder to get all 4 feet on the ground and have a nice smooth gait pattern. It's also heavy. You know. If I need it to be on the other side, all I have to do is turn it around. Okay. So. A lot of wheelchair manufacturers have also gotten smart and made adjustments, such as this wheelchair. You can adjust the height of the axle for the rear wheels and the front wheels to adjust for height of the person. So if I have someone who I want to self-propel using their feet, okay, and I'm just a little, so I may adjust the axle height so that this comes up, seat comes down a little bit, and it's easier for me to use my feet with my arms, so it's not so exhausting. Also, I can change the angle. I can change the angle of this so that this is down and the casters are up, so I have a little seat tilt to keep that person's bottom back if they have a tendency to kind of slide forward. Little things that are very, very important in terms of positioning, comfort, etc. So, walker, same basic principle, sit to stand. For someone, you don't have the gait belt on, I mean, you should have a gait belt on. Anybody who is not independent. That's Dr. Pam's rule.
So everyone.
Pretty much. Unless they're walking all around the unit and they haven't been assigned a wheelchair, they've been deemed independent, whatnot. For anybody who's not independent in transfers, in ambulation, whenever you move them, you should have a gait belt on them because you just don't know. Any of them could, for medication reasons, et cetera, could lose their balance.
Is there a weight standard to that? Like if somebody's, let's say, is much bigger than you? I guess you have, there's a weight restriction for when you're doing transfers, right? So that there's a certain
Not
amount of
really.
weight. So would you use a gate?
That's a myth.
It is? But I thought somebody was over, what did we learn?
35 pounds.
Yeah, 35.
You can't do that with a human being. You can't do that with a human. That's OSHA standards for a static object for lifting. It's impossible for a human being because there's so many other factors involved.
So then
Well,
that's
PP2
That rule.
If it's, I know, but I have some updated stuff for you from NIOSH and some transfer algorithms that came out of the VA that's awesome for safe patient handling. And a lot of it has to do with how much can they help? So essentially, if someone can help at least up to half, more than half of the effort involved in the transfer, you do not need a mechanical assist for that.
Up to any weight? Like,
Mhm.
let's say it's somebody who's like 400
Right.
pounds.
Right.
You could still, and like, as long as they can help.
'Cause
them
it's
up
the
with it, what
effort.
if they lose their balance and they fall and they're taking you down with them?
You better not be underneath.
That's where the control is and your skill in terms of your body
Right.
mechanics, how you're controlling them. Trust me, my patients who are 4, 5, and 600 pounds were pretty strong because they've been carrying and managing that weight for a long time. If they were mobile and ambulatory before whatever happened. If they'd been bedbound, that's a whole different ballgame. But think about it, if you've got it in your head and stuck that a 35-pound weight limit in terms of moving,
That's
you
the second-
need,
that's a-
you
a
need
3-year-old
5
child.
people to move me.
It's a 3-year-old child.
Question.
Bless.
Right.
It's not realistic.
It's on your test twice.
It was.
Yeah.
Those are the basic OSHA standards for lifting an object, not for a person. Safe patient handling guidelines are different. Yeah.
Is that just in this class or going forward in this program?
That's going
applies?
forward, that's going forward out in the workforce.
Okay, so next semester that still applies, right?
It should, yeah.
Okay.
Because it's not realistic, think about it.
Yeah, you'll never be transferring anybody.
You would never be transferring anybody. Granted, there's a safe patient handling
Determine their ability to assist you.
through your evaluation,
So just through asking them or through actually?
through actual assessment. If I have questions about someone, and they tend to be, I'm concerned about their size or even their ability to participate, cooperate, I'm gonna bring my PT friend with me, or I'm gonna bring the nurse with me, or, you know, someone else, an aide, et cetera, with me, just in case.
And are you doing a formal assessment on that, or are you
Yeah.
just like, okay, here's the stand up and?
No, it's part of my formal assessment. It's functional mobility. If they're in bed, and I say, okay, well, let's sit up at the edge of the bed. If they pretty much get themselves up to the edge of the bed, they have no other restrictions, et cetera, and they're moving pretty well, I'll start with, okay, let's, because the bed's right there, and if I need to, and I've got this thing, okay, on them, it's like, okay, well, let's see if you can just stand up. If they struggle with standing up, it's like, okay, back to bed.
So that's your min-mod, I'm sorry, I'm not, so much. That's your min-mod max assist, so if somebody's a max assist, theoretically, you think you would be mechanical device.
Theoretically, if I were following strict safe patient handling guidelines, yes,
And min-mod pretty much would probably do the gate belt.
yep, and one person. Or from a therapy, if they're a max assist of me, I may use a second person. Because particularly if I'm working with them in therapy, working on those skills, I don't wanna use a lift. If my objective to get them transferred is just to get them from the bed to the chair so I can take them down to therapy, I'm probably better off with a device to make us all safe. And there's all different methods too for the transfers, and I'm not gonna get into squat pivot and all that sort of stuff for this. I'm trying to make it a little more straightforward, basic. Gait belt. This is another one of Dr. Peter's big soapboxes. Gait belt. I prefer this, the metal buckle, rather than the plastic buckle. I've had more than one plastic buckle break on me as I was putting it on, taking it off, or I couldn't get the bloody buckle unbuckled. All right, it's also harder once buckled, once it's connected, to adjust those plastic buckles. This, don't count on this, because some manufacturers have this reversed as the way the buckle is. My favorite gait belt is that way. This, you wanna go around the natural waist. There's ways to work through this, but this is important, this thing, it's snug. This is not the way to put the gait belt on your client. This may be the way you wear it walking around the unit.
Like a fanny pack.
Like a what?
A fanny pack.
Fanny pack, or I was, actually, my thing was, oh, the pants that are like. You know, so for this, I don't, you know, I'm gonna start with this. Put this on the person, generally they're sitting down.
Is that funny?
Generally, they're sitting down when I'm doing this, so someone like me, when I'm sitting down, unfortunately, there's some adipose tissue that tends to build up, bulk around the waist. So when I go to stand up, it's looser. So I may not, because with this kind of a thing, I'm good, it's still gonna hold against those teeth. But when they come up, I can do a quick, and then, Or what I will do too is, see, now it's snug. I will make this, I will put it through, but I will leave a loop. Okay, so when I've had it on them, sitting down, I'll leave it looped. If I just wanna make sure I've got this, leave it looped, when they come up, all I have to do is snug it. You want it snug. You want to underhand grip. Underhand grip. Not overhand. Think about it on yourself. When you grab something underhand as opposed to this, which is stronger? Underhand. Biceps, flexion this way as opposed to pulling down that way. You got a grip. Get a grip! Okay, very important. Grip this, not this, not my pants, not the belt on the man's pants. That's going to break loose because the loops on the pants break loose.
That's Helen Hayes' favorite.
I know. I've known people who've gone to, Helen Hayes doesn't use gait
They
belts.
don't use any
I'm
gait
sorry,
belts.
that's against safe patient handling.
No, no.
OSHA and NIOSH standards for safe patient handling are if the person needs like at least a minimum assist, they must have a gait belt. That's part of the algorithms. That's national standards going back to the mid-2000s. A lot of stuff out there. Again, we're talking about state by state by state by state. If a whole bunch of folks start getting hurt, I'm going back to when my son was non-weight bearing. Non-weight bearing, nothing going on the floor on this side. You're not gonna be using a cane for non-weight bearing. You're gonna be using one of these things, okay? And it's literally, so they need adequate upper body strength to do this, okay? Crutches are really tough. I mean, axillary crutches. Takes a lot of coordination for axillary crutches. So hopefully this person's only gonna be for a while. I've seen people, why is it? This is better. Knee flexed, foot here,
So you don't trip on your own foot?
possibly.
To equalize distribute the weight?
Yeah, but I see people all the time, even on their axillary crutches. Foot out. I've seen clients like this, and it has nothing to do with, it's not like their knee was in an immobilizer. But for some reason, they gotta, maybe, maybe. So it's like, just no, like this.
Dr. Thor, what about those like scooters where they put your knee on?
Oh, the knee ones, the knee
Yeah.
scooters, they're good, but the person really has to be coordinated.
Like you
You
can
can
use it
fall
for
off
non-weight bearing?
Yeah.
I mean, not easily,
You can
but-
use them for non-weight bearing?
Non-weight bearing of what?
No.
Foot.
Foot, ankle, yep. Not for hip. Yep.
And when you use them, you have to do it the first week, depending on your condition, because you're doing that scooter motion, you're gonna get that body imbalance, like, and it's gonna hurt on the
Well, with
standing
anything,
leg.
yeah, anything when you go the non-weight bearing, anything that throws you off could be, but, yeah. So, toe touch weight bearing. This is perfect for toe touch weight bearing, as long as I'm doing it right. Toe touch. It comes forward, my foot's down, all my weight. The cue is to put all your weight through the arms. So they always lead with the injured, affected foot. Okay, that's toe touch, touchdown.
It looks like you're squashing a gnat.
Huh?
Looks like you're squashing a gnat.
Now I am. Oh, yeah,
Oh, well,
flushing
no.
it. Yep, but,
I feel like, I don't know.
it's hard
It's
without
really
putting a
hard,
pressure
yeah,
sensor
it's so
under,
hard.
but it's still, the idea is my weight's going forward into my arms.
I feel like for someone who doesn't have the upper body strength, then they would like
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of factors that go into it, and we have lovely conversations with our PT colleagues about that. Cause I've seen people do this. This is more partial weight bearing.
Yeah.
Cause I just can't get any lift, okay? So partial weight bearing is like that. They're still putting significant amount of weight, but they're offloading
So
as they come
without
through.
breaking like their weight bearing status, how do you assess that they're actually able to do toe touch and they have the upper extremity strength to do it
Mhm.
without them
It's-
actually
It's
not
a lot of
doing it?
observation, and PT does the primary instruction for this.
Is it like really worth it to do the toe?
For some people it is. For some people it really is.
Like,
And
because
even-
if it's so light, like,
Right, but there is an equilibrium, and for some folks, if they're just doing like a pivot transfer with someone, they stand up, they just put their foot on the ground, they feel more stable. Okay, and then we can switch around, but. Whether or not they can maintain it, that's a whole other thing, and that's when the physical therapist calls the orthopedic surgeon and says, can you please make them non-weight bearing? Because they just cannot maintain toe touch. It's, for some reason, it's a lot easier for someone to comprehend the concept of don't put any weight, don't put your foot on the ground, than put your toes down, don't squash the egg, and let's go. All right. Cane, very important with the canes. Even if they're with the cane, but they need a little stability. They're gonna come up, they're not gonna grab the cane until they're up. And then they're off.
How high is the cane supposed to be?
Same as the walker, like around the trochanter or the wrist height. You need to have a little flexibility in the elbow. Locked like this, it's gonna hurt, it's gonna be exhausting, and it's not gonna provide the kind of oomph you need as you move forward, like if I had to put more weight through it. I can offload quite a bit on this foot, but at some point, the moment I lift my cane, I'm putting full weight on the leg, so. Okay.
The cane needs to be with your unaffected.
Cane is on your unaffected side. It's it counterbalances the affected one. And it also helps with, when someone really gets going, the arm swing, that helps to stabilize. Okay, so, these belts come in different lengths.
Remind us how small.
I don't know that I ever had that in a waist. I think when I was 15, I was gonna say 15, let's see, yeah, 15, that's all right, 1976, for the bicentennial, and I had a bicentennial colonial dress, and I was able to use my mother's like underskirt from her hoop skirt from under her wedding dress. And she had a 22-inch waistline. So if I'm going to have, if I need a minimal assist with a walker, I'm going to have this here. A lot of this is communication. Telling someone step by step what you expect them to do. So I'm going to be here, this is someone orthopedic, she's full weight bearing, but she's weak. So she needs a little more help, so. Hello. I'm Beth. I'm going to be your therapist this morning, afternoon. Let's see if we can get you to stand up with this walker. Can you please scoot forward? Move forward a little bit to the front of the seat. Good. So I'm gonna be here I'm anticipating the worst. Yes, I saw her scoot, but I don't know really how strong her legs are. So for minimal assist, she's got a nice, snug enough belt, and I've got a good grip in the back of the belt. Why would I want to grip the back of the belt?
Bicep flexion, in case she goes forward.
In case she goes forward and I need to pull her back, that's one. Or I can use a little stimulus to push her forward. Yep. And coming up. My body mechanics are critical. I've got pretty even weight over both her feet. I'm in alignment with her, and I'm gonna watch to see where her feet are. That's good, your feet are in a really great position, a little bit apart, and your feet are under your knees. So could I have you put your hands on the arms of the chair? On 3, I'm going to have you come up. Now if I'm thinking she needs a little more, I'm gonna put one hand in front, one hand in back. Okay? So on 3, I'm gonna have you stand up, put your nose over your toes, and stand up for me. 1, 2, 3. Because this way I have control. Look at where my arms are even on me. I'm not out here, I'm not out here. Okay? The mechanics, think about lifting. So in case she starts to lose her balance, I can control her. Any which way I want. So, that could be if she was really a moderate assist. She's doing about half of the effort and I'm doing about half of the effort. Moderate assist is more about how much the client is doing as opposed to what I'm doing. That's how they run the room. So minimal assist is the client's doing 75% of the effort. Moderate is 50%, maximum is they're doing 25%, up to 25. Dependent is they're doing nothing. They can't do anything below 25%. Okay. All right, so what I'd like you to do, can you step back a little bit for me? Yep, feel the chair on the back of your legs. Reach back for the arms with your hands. I want you to bend, stick your bottom out, and sit down. So that's with, she's weight bearing is tolerated or full weight bearing, no issues with that, no other restrictions. Now, this is gonna look kind of like your person that you've done with a hip replacement. So I would ask her to, could you please scooch forward just to get your bottom forward? Okay. So, if you remember, you're really not supposed to put much weight on this leg. So what I'd like you to do, and kind of help you with that, is can you stick your foot out forward? Good. You're gonna be putting all your weight through this leg. Why am I doing this?
For her to feel it.
Giving her some tactile and proprioceptive cueing to say, this is where it's going. Okay. Like you did before, can you lean forward, get your nose over your toes, put your arms on the rest so that will help you to push up. And as much of your weight as possible through this leg, very little here. All right, so we have you on 3, stand up. 1, 2, 3. Now reach for that walker. Good. Okay. And then to come back, you can step back, walker, good. Put that weight through the arms, through there, on the walker, reach back. Good, nice, keeping that foot forward. And down. If only all our clients were able to follow through, so. Good job, Steve. Thank you.
It's hanging.
With the non-weight bearing. Can you scoot forward a little bit? Yep, don't put your foot on the floor. Nice, nice. That's gotta get out of the way. I may end up having to keep them up, or give them that clue, keep them up. I might, PTs might, use another gait belt, or a TheraBand, keep that foot up. But I want you to put all your weight through this leg. Does it feel pretty good today?
Feels great.
Good. Okay, so what is helpful too is to guide them so that their nose is over that foot. So they're leaning in that direction anyway. And on 3, 1, 2, 3, reach for that walker. Good. Alrighty, gonna have you push through, hop back a little. Nice, feel that chair on the back of your legs, reach back and sit down. Great.
Now, you said that PTs would use another gait belt or a TheraBand, is that
It might be harder for me if they're training them how to do the non-weight bearing.
Like
It
if they're
may not
training
be-
the patient?
Yeah, it may not be practical for me to do when I'm trying to get them moved into the wheelchair, to get them into the bathroom, to do a toilet transfer. Right. But little cues and things. So you have there on your paper, a few different things, like what might it be for a min-assist, mod-assist. Again, think min-assist is, I'm helping just a little bit. They're really doing it all. Min-assist, especially with the FIM, which we will go over, is the moment I am touching her, I'm basically min-assist. If I am touching her and doing any kind of guidance through the process of the transfer, that's basically min-assist, according to the FIM. There is no such thing as contact guard with the FIM. Because I'm still assisting, I'm touching, I'm there. As opposed to standby assist, in some places, some companies call standby assist. And within easy reach. Because if I'm close enough that if something happens, I've got her. Supervision, all I'm doing is providing perhaps verbal cues. I still might be close enough if I'm confident enough to them that I can reach in to kind of ease things. I used to love one place I worked where the PTs would write she gets a distance supervision at the end of the hallway, watching them walk. They're distance supervision because I'm watching them. And you're yelling down the hallway?
Yeah.
No. I'm sorry, my name is not Flash. I can't get to the client until they start to fall. I've never been Flash. I've been more like Arnold Schwarzenegger than Flash. So, but, yeah, so it's a lot of practice. I just want you to be practicing, okay, what might this be like dealing with someone who's got a weight-bearing restriction and I have to be there, get comfortable being in that person's bubble. Okay? Be comfortable being the person whose bubble you're getting into, so that you understand what that, kind of that feels like.
And putting the gate belt.
And help each other. Yeah, gait belt. How to deal with wheelchair parts. Not gonna do the sliding board today. We can do a sliding board, say, in an open lab. We have 2 beds over there. One bed, you will never do a sliding board there. What bed you find?
The other one.
Right there, up there, over there. Guzman? what's a good basic principle with sliding board? Going from what surface to what surface?
Higher to lower.
Higher to lower. But you know what? And what's another general principle that you have heard of in transferring? General principle in transfers. So moving from one surface to the other, which direction do you tend to want to go? Right, to the strong side. But can you always go to the strong side? I'm sorry, I haven't figured out how to make my toilet turn around. Or move that tub out of the way. There's just times you can't do that. You can't flip the wheelchair around. You don't have enough room. It's not practical. That's a great principle for safety. But practicality and training, I'm sorry, we need to be able to go both directions. So training your client, working with them in both directions is very important. Because then you can anticipate, you can learn what are the issues and problem solve. Okay, how do I get past this? So, yes, technically, if I was wanting to move her if I wanted to move Jordan from here to the bed over here, and this was non-weight bearing, yes, I'd want to position her this way and pivot her towards her strong side. But if there was no way for me to move that bed or to move that wheelchair in such a way, if there's space, she's got to be able to move back to it and still maintain her non-weight bearing status. So you may have a situation, and it always becomes fun in the documentation, where their min assist, stand pivot transfer with a walker to their strong side, and their moderate assist or max assist to their affected side. Makes sense. Different time of day. If she's tired, right now, she's great. That leg feels terrific, nice and strong. What did you call it, Tank?
Hank.
Oh.
On Hank.
Oh, you're Hank. Not Tank, okay. She's Hank, not Tank. It's Tank. I'll get my hearing back. We're gonna thank Tank. We're gonna thank Hank, Tank. The Tank. Jordan the Tank. Oh, God. We're all delirious.